think perhaps let me get something started while people are still streaming in as well. So I see some familiar faces, some new names. Not very sure. So I'm going to run a poll. This is just to make sure, just to check whether how many are new and so you can adjust the today's webinar accordingly. Let me run a poll. Is this your first time? Just let us know. Okay, while we wait for people to come in. Okay. So polls are coming in. Wow, most are regulars. Okay, so I think only one is new, but nevertheless, let me say something about it just for the first timers here. So okay, everybody, welcome to today's webinar. So as people are streaming in, I'll tell you more about what we do here as for the newcomers itself. In this webinar itself is a daily webinar where Jin will be walking through his thoughts and ideas for a very specific currency to discuss each day. So just to discuss, Monday will be Aussie and New Zealand. Tuesday will be Euro. Wednesday will be Pound. Thursday will be, which is yesterday, we talked about Yen and Gold. So today, Friday, we'll be talking about the Canadian dollar and the WTI oil. So it's very important. So, okay, so I can see we have the polls come in of 15 here. We have 13, welcome back, and 2 newcomers. Okay, so okay, no, that'll be great. So, so today, as I mentioned already, Jin will be talking about the Canadian dollar and the WTI. So this is going to be very beneficial for a lot of people, not only in terms of short-term investors, long-term investors. It's all for throughout all the traders as well. So Jin is going to go through all what actually moves the prices. As I think maybe he'll talk about yen yesterday. You know, a lot of news come out, a lot of movement at night itself, and some possible trade ideas as well. You highlight what's the potential targets, what's the risk, is there a recommendation, but this is solely the opinion. I don't want to say solely opinion of the views of the speakers itself. So remember to do your own analysis before you enter any trade at all. Okay. So, I talk so much. My name is Daniel. So for the newcomers who have not known me itself, I know Jin for a couple of years already and been working with him as a LCMS coach and a student LCMS coach and now a business partner itself. So Jin has been, for the newcomers, Jin has been running LCMS Traders and Forex Briefcase itself. He's a trading coach and $1 million trader. He's trading the MEM account, which is trading more than $6 million right now. So what this means is he's trading, he's invited, and you know that because he's invited by so many events at stage, so he's quite very knowledgeable and an expert in this field as well. So okay, so before I get Jin to start, I want to know let me help us yourself. I'm going to launch another poll to let us know how did you know about this webinar so that we can improve further on this. So I'm launching right now. I appreciate everybody to help to vote and let us know. Okay, slowly coming in. Okay, Telegram channel, Traders Club, and a lot of friends. So do friends are sharing. So do share with your friends who are staying at home, who are also trading Forex or anything, so they can come in and learn from us itself, and especially pick the brains of Jin. Okay, so Jin, now I hand over to you.
Thanks, Daniel. There is no brain picking here. There's no brain picking. I like my brains intact. Please don't pick my brains. I will be sharing with you my views, my thoughts and views of the different currency pairs as Daniel has described. Just then, one thing I want to tell you as well is this is on Facebook Live right now. So if you can, I'll give you 30 seconds, jump onto Facebook, jump to my profile, search for, if you're not my friend already, search for me, Jin Dao Thai, and then click share on that Facebook Live so that we can get more people on board. This is, after all, a free live, a free analysis. Okay, so today, as we have, it's Friday. It's the first day of Ramadan as well. but today we're going to be talking about CAD and the WTI. A lot of things has been happening for this week in terms of the WTI. A lot of developments, but also a lot of traps. So a lot of times people are so focused on what could happen in terms of profit, they forget about what could happen in terms of managing their risk and their potential losses as well. So that's one thing I want to pay a bit more attention to is although we know how much we could have made is always hindsight. We want to pay a bit more attention into managing that risk moving forward as well. Okay, so let's get started. I've seen a poll. A lot of you are regulars. Couple more from Telegram today. Traders Club is doing well. Some people are sharing with friends. So thank you all. Let's get started. First screen I want to share is my charts. Can you see my charts? Thumbs up if you can. Yep, good. It is very messy. I will just pick on the CAD today. I might do a bit of a revision of what we've talked about during the week. So that would be quite interesting. So CAD, take that line away. CAD on the daily chart here, we have, I start looking at the daily chart in these videos. Traditionally, I always look at only the H4. So now I look at the daily chart as well to cater to not just the traders, but also some investors out there. I know that we have business owners, we have entrepreneurs and business owners, we have investors out there who are looking at longer term pictures, especially the Canadian dollar, the pound, and the US dollar. So Canadian dollar here, we went through some volatility. Let me zoom in a little bit. Some volatility over the past couple of days because of what has happened with the WTI. We saw quite a bit of weakening in the CAD, about 250 pips, before now resuming back to where it started off, right? So it's back at that support level of 1.4012. So it's still coming to that decision point. Hey, is it going to break lower, or is it going to shoot up, bounce off this support to move higher? Those were the lines I had last week since we spoke about the Canadian dollar. Same analysis, right? Nothing much has changed. It's still the same analysis. It could go higher if it bounces off. It could go lower if it breaks through. The main thing comes back down to the drivers of what could move the CAD either higher or lower. At this point, my view is that we could see it sitting at that range for quite a bit longer, maybe fluctuating in this area for a little bit more. That's on the daily chart. Tendency from what I see here could be a strengthening of the CAD or a weakening of the US dollar, right? So that could show the CAD. If that happens, that could show the CAD moving lower, breaking downwards. So I still have that little bit of a bias of it coming lower. We might, with inverted commas, have seen the worst of the WTI. So we could see a little bit of a firming of prices. Therefore, we could see it moving lower off the 1.40 support level. So I'm still looking for that move lower. Indicators and price action are possibly telling me that as well. On the H4 time frame, so let me make this a bit more specific, all right? Okay, on the H4 time frame, it has been sitting there. It's still sitting there at that support level. We do anticipate that based on the indicators and a bit of a price action, where it tested this support and couldn't really go lower, we do anticipate that it could sit there, maybe move up a little bit, and then maybe with some US news come back down again. So I would kind of do a little bit of that kind of predictions. As Daniel did mention, these are all my views, so don't go after this video, start clicking away and entering trades, although despite it not being moved, do your own analysis as well. I'm really here just to support your analysis. So I do believe that it could sit there, move across a little bit, go up a little bit, possibly do something like that before coming back down again. Okay, so I think it would be quite, I would say, a bit boring in terms of the US CAD. Not possibly not much happening here. Paying a bit more attention to the WTI. Okay. Before I jump into WTI, any questions on the CAD? Any questions? You all happy? Let me see. Daniel has been doing the summaries there. That's good. Everyone happy so far? All right. So so we'll jump into the WTI. After I do WTI, I'll jump into the news. So WTI, I would highly recommend that you do not go anything lower than the day one time frame. That's really because at this point, there's a lot of fluctuations, a lot of volatility in oil. So if you did go into a smaller time frame, it will be quite close to gambling, right? Because you'll be trying to catch volatilities within a very small time frame with no real drivers or no distinct drivers of price. So that's why I would say it's quite close to gambling. At this point, on the bigger time frame, we have seen that there was a big drop in WTI. It sat there and now it's trying to bounce back up. One thing I have noticed that a lot of brokers are sending out emails highlighting an increase of margin. So we've seen brokers increase margin to up to 10 times. We've seen brokers limit the transactions in terms of what you can do on WTI. So you can only close trades, you can't open new trades. Or they have also highlighted that spreads might widen significantly at different points in time. So that's one thing I really want to make you pay attention to is, hey, it looks like if I sold here, if I sold at this point and I held it down, I could be making that much. And if I did buy back up, I could be making that much again. Be very careful with especially with the WTI right now because of margin increases, spread widening, limitation of executions in terms of only being able to close trades. This will not be a pair that I would trade actively. It would be a pair that I would look at it, get the experience of what happens in terms of analyzing the news and the price drivers leading towards what could happen in the US CAD, right? So with that said, I'll still go through a little bit of a brief analysis. We do expect that there were talks that meetings were happening. We could expect some price movement to recover, right? However, this is going to be still subject to a lot of shock in the system. So at this point, I would still be very careful with the WTI. All right, so I have rambled on about the WTI a lot without telling you much. If you haven't noticed already, that's really quite on purpose so that you don't try to hammer out too many trades at that point. I've seen a lot of people have been messaging me about WTI directly and then also saying that they've lost a lot of money there. So I do urge a lot of caution. Any questions at this point? Summaries are still there. Give you a moment. Any questions or happy? Give me a thumbs up if you are good. All right. I still see Derek giving me a thumbs up. That's awesome. So this was really quite quick and sharp. US CAD, WTI. Let me get into the news. Let me just share my Forex Factory. All right, so Forex Factory today, later today at 2 o'clock, we have the retail sales number for pound. That's not going to move the CAD too much. We will come back to that later. I do have a lot of time today. 4 p.m. we have some Euro news. At 8:30 we have the US news. So these are the US news is going to drive the US CAD a little bit more than all the other news. Core durable goods orders was minus 0.6, expected to be minus 6%. So we do expect, well, relatively bad news from the US. We have seen a trend of bad news from the US, but with that, as that expectation of bad news comes in, we also expect that there's some level of the bad news being priced into the market already, right? So don't expect to see massive movements if it comes out at minus 6% or even minus 5%. One trap that catches a lot of people is if at 8:30 the US news comes out at minus 5%, would you think it's a good news or bad news? Right? It comes out green. Beginners or people who don't really understand the news would think, hey, it's minus 5%, it's a green number, it's a good news. Well, if it's minus 5%, previously was minus 0.6%, it dropped massively, so it is still going to be a bad news for the US. Maybe not as bad, but still bad. So we could still see a weakening of the US dollar. So in general, whatever the number comes out to be, if it's minus 5, minus 6%, we will see a weakening of the US dollar. However, it might not be as large or as significant as we expect because it might already be slightly priced in. Everyone's expecting a bad number. So what I mean by priced in is not that the news got leaked, or it's not that people already know what the number is. You know, it's a general sentiment and feeling of how we see the market now. You know, we know that it is going to be a little bit bad news. So if it does come out as a bad news, it's not going to catch everyone by surprise. All right, makes sense so far? So before I move into what could happen next week, I do want to show you yesterday's news. Yesterday we were looking at a lot of bad news. Almost everything was red. Euro's terrible news for French PMI, services PMI, manufacturing PMI, everything was red, right? This shows a massive contraction in the Eurozone in terms of manufacturing and services. It shows a massive contraction. It went from 47.8 to 32.9 in the pound for the manufacturing PMI. Services went from 34 to 12.3. Again, huge contractions in those industries. So we saw quite a bit of weakening in the euro and in the pound at that point. However, in the evenings, we saw a US manufacturing PMI come out at 36.9. Right, so this is back to what I was describing to you just then about possible news today. The PMI coming out at 36.9, a lot of people would have thought or might have felt that there was good news because they expected it to be 35.1. It came out at 36.9. In my view, that's still terrible. Why I say it's terrible is because it was previously 48.5. So 48.5 is still a contraction of the manufacturing industry. Below 50 is a contraction. So 48.5 is a contraction. It came out at 36.9, which is a massive contraction. The news actually did come out that US output contracts at fastest pace in survey history. So looking at that, even if you didn't understand the numbers in terms of the PMI numbers, looking at that, US output contracts at fastest pace, even just that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words gives you an indication of what to think about the US dollar, whether it's going to be stronger or weaker. You know, contracts fastest pace in history, it's going to be terrible for the US dollar, right? So sometimes don't just pay attention to whether it's going to be red or green, whether it's a good number or bad number. Look at the news, and even if you don't understand it, the headlines alone can tell you a lot as well. All right. Make sense so far? Have I lost everyone, or are you all good? All right, I got a couple of head nods, so I've lost half of you. Okay, good. Some people are saying avoid WTI, and I've got a big good there. Awesome. Okay, so before I get into more of that, I want to show you the Traders Club. Why? Because there's a big news that we were sharing on Traders Club. So Traders Club is on Facebook. It is a private group. You might see here is a private group where you can join. It is a paid group. We do have a trading competition that we do there. Let me just scroll through this. Okay, so 13 hours ago, late last night, right, middle of the night, this news came out where a member highlighted this. It's in Japanese, but the direct translation, detailed translation is there. Brief translation I was sharing is that the Bank of Japan is considering not to have any restrictions in terms of their bond buying program, and it's likely to double it. In detail, Daniel did share that the current annual purchase is at 1 trillion yen. If they remove that limitation, they are likely to double it for commercial bonds and papers and bonds. So we could see further weakening of the Japanese yen. But this is still a news item at the moment. I would wait. My best advice is to wait for this news to actually be released by the Bank of Japan on Tuesday next week. Okay, so these are the kind of information I share in the LCMS Traders Club, where it's a private group. You know, we have trade analysis. So some of you I saw came from the Telegram channel. Telegram channels, we share with you the trade signals, telling you whether to buy or sell the different currency pairs at a price, whatever the stop loss and the take profits 1, 2, and 3 is. In the group here, we actually have the detailed analysis telling you why Daniel is buying or selling the different currency pairs, the different reasons, the logic behind the signal, right? And then at take profit 1, he tells you, hey, close trade to secure your profits, or at take profit 2, really, you know, those who have not exited now close, because it might have bounced, it's outside of Bollinger Band, it could close. This was a chart that I shared yesterday. I was saying that before it goes below this point, you know, it might bounce back up. That's the reasons why I share my ideas daily to give you an update of where I see the market heading, possible trigger points, trigger lines before you do anything. So it started bouncing off at that trigger line there. So these are the kind of things. Derek's there. Derek's been sharing how the Bank of Japan might shorten their meetings as well. So a lot of information in this club. One of the biggest benefits of this club is that you share your trade ideas as well. So a lot of times you might be trading alone at home. You know, you want to just know whether you're on the right track. You don't know whether you should be entering a trade or not, or drawing your thoughts, your trade ideas and thoughts. You can put it in here, share your trade ideas and thoughts, and then there's always someone there to comment and feedback to you whether you're on the right track or not. Okay, so I do believe that this is a very good resource to your trading journey. You can find more information here at lcms.com.sg/tradersclub. Our scrolls, I've just went through all that. It is a paid group where it's $49 a month or $199 annually. To me, I think it's a no-brainer. $199 a year is going to be a massive benefit to your trading journey. All Trader Club members also get into the SamTrade Traders Challenge if you have a SamTrade trading account. This month, every month we have a trading challenge where it's a $2,000 cash prize. This month there is our current leader is at $4,000 profit with a 31% return at this point, right? So these are kind of competitions you can join. You automatically join as a Trader Club member. Then you can not only make profits in your trades, but also win a cash prize, right? So you can always reach out to the coaches to help you or to guide you through any trading help you need as well. Okay. So
I'm looking at some questions.
I got some questions here. I'm looking at the questions. People buying the yen bond will weaken the yen. So Reagan, yes. People buying the yen, well, government buying back, not people buying, government buying back yen. They're doing an asset purchase. So when the government buys back the yen, they are pushing more money into the economy. So when they push more money into the economy, that increased supply of dollars, increased supply of yen, increased supply of money. So as supply increases, what happens to and demand stays the same, what happens to price? Price will weaken, right? Price will drop, which is the weakening of the yen. So it actually answers Robbie's question as well. So Reagan and Robbie, did I answer your question? Can you put it in the chat? You happy? but bond isn't that government borrow money from citizens. Hey, no, Reagan, sometimes when they buy corporate bonds, so they're not buying government bonds, they're actually buying corporate bonds. So the government's actually buying bonds from companies to push money into the economy. All right, so they're not borrowing money, they're pushing it in. Hi Jin, your advice on short-term trading, what's the support within time frame you're looking for at H1 or Okay, so Ty's question, advice on short-term trading, H1 and H4 at 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years. No, Ty, if you're trading H1, if I get your question correctly, if you're trading H1 and H4, I would be looking at H1 no more than maybe 3 days, or maybe at the most a week. At the ultimate most is a week. If you're looking at H1 time frame, if you're looking at H4 time frame, a week, 2 weeks, or at the most 3 weeks. But if you're so definitely not 6 months, a year, or 2 years. Keep it a bit shorter. If you're looking at the daily time frame, then maybe a month. At the most a month or 2 months. But at this point, if you are looking at MT4, if you are trading, if you are on this call especially, right, every day, I definitely wouldn't be looking at any trades for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. A lot of my investors, property investors out there who actually I help out a lot in terms of giving them projections of currencies, do look at 6 months, a year, or 2 years, but that's because they're looking more at property and managing their investment cash flow from there. So if you're trading it, I would be a bit more careful, not so much 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. Thanks, Ty. So Reagan said news was Bank of Japan next week will discuss shifting to a limited purchase of government bonds, not corporate bonds. Let me just show you, Ty. I'm still on this. Hang on, let me just find that news again. Give me a moment. Okay, no wait, it's here. Based on this news, I don't know whether there's any other news, but based on this news, that whole news translation, as Daniel did here, it was a purchase limit for commercial papers and corporate bonds issued by companies through financing. So Reagan, your question, I'm not sure where you got the news on the government bonds, but based on this news, I can only trade based on the news that we have. It is on commercial papers and corporate bonds. Okay, Andrew, what are your average trading session times? Mainly London, New York, due to capital flows. Andrew, for me, I trade all the time. Despite being stuck at home now, I am still sitting at home in front of the computer trading all the time. There is going to be a bit more volatility, a bit more movement during the New York sessions especially, but we have seen pretty regular movements or tradable movement sessions as well during both the Asia, Euro, and London sessions. So it really depends. That's one of the reasons why I like trading FX, right? It's because you're not limited to just trading sessions alone. It's really up to you when you want to be trading, up to you when you want to be looking at the charts. So I don't believe in terms of limiting your trading sessions to the market set timing. I would say base it based on whatever you're more comfortable with. Okay, but obviously, follow your whole trade setup, have that system, have that structure to every trade that you do.
Okay, Jin, I think we're going to come to the end of the session. But any last questions before we move?
Can I have 5 more minutes, Daniel?
Okay, sure.
I want to share. Sorry.
No problem.
We'll go on a little bit more because I think this is going to be quite interesting. I wanted to share the pound US dollars. If you can see my charts again. Can you see my charts? Yep. Okay. So the pound US dollar, we were looking at, yesterday we said that at this point it could bounce. It's still sitting at that level. I do think that at this point it could come back lower. So at this, I don't think it's going to go higher. It could come back lower. That's one thing that we're looking at. And then this is in particular, I want to share this, right? The Euro Yen. Okay, Euro Yen, yesterday we were sharing that if it does break below this yellow line, it could move quite significantly lower. So this is now quite a interesting trade that I'll be paying an interesting chart that I'll be paying quite a bit of attention to. If it does break below that line, it is testing. It could come back up a little bit before coming back down. So I would be paying a bit more attention to that currency pair as well. And then US yen is still sitting in that zone, so not much happening. It could, given what happens in the Bank of Japan, it could move a bit or quite significantly higher. We will have to see what happens on Tuesday. Okay. So I didn't take 5 minutes. I took 2 minutes. All right. So you have it back again, Daniel. Thanks for that. You're still on mute, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks, Jin. Thanks a lot. So we're going to come to the end of the webinar itself. Help me feedback on this poll. We're doing it every time to see what we can improve further or what is needed. We'll get back to everyone. Okay. So let us know how you thought of the session. And by the way, this recording for the new guys, this recording of the video will be uploaded. And thank you for the sessions today. So tomorrow, there's no webinar because it's a weekend, but we'll come back on Monday again. Monday to Friday, we'll be back again. Okay, so we're looking forward to see you then.
For everyone who is a Traders Club member, we are moving the weekly Traders Club weekly live call from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Is it 9 p.m.? Yeah, 9 p.m. on Monday. So we're going to do a 11 a.m. session as a daily currency call. The Traders Club members will have a live call with me at 9 p.m. on Monday. So remember, it's not 1 p.m. anymore, it's 9 p.m. All right. Great. So a good 88% of you love what we've been doing. I do hope to see you more often. If you can share this, get more people on board, that would be fantastic. You would help me out a lot. I really appreciate that. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Stay home, stay safe, and we'll catch up again soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right.